Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Drunken Peasants podcast. Wait, no, I'm not the Drunken Peasants. This is Lawrence from the Atheist Community of Milwaukee, and today I have a special guest, James Kirk Wall. He was a speaker at the Mythinformation conference, and he is a very cool dude. And hopefully we can talk more about philosophy or just shoot the shit later. So we'll see where that goes. But he's my guest today. So James, first off, can you tell the entire YouTube world, every person that is listening to this for some god-awful reason, what you are all about?
Wow, that's a big question. Well, I guess in a non-religious community, it's about truth. It's about getting to the truth, and you do that through argumentation and debate. You do that through various methodology. I guess it bothers me when people spread things that aren't true and aren't false. And I guess when it comes to religion, spreading the idea that the Bible is a good book or the Quran is a book of peace, and these things were based on my examination. That's not the case at all. So I guess the analogy that what I'm all about is pulling the curtain and exposing the man behind the curtain. We'll put it that way.
That's a great way of putting it. I have not heard that one personally. All right, so your speech at the Mythinformation conference was, at least how I took it, was kind of like a presentation on how to dissect creationist and religious claims.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously there are too many of them to go over all of them in one 1 hour lecture.
Yeah.
But you definitely hit on some really good points, and I specifically Psi 10. Oh, that guy. Yeah. That guy just makes me so angry. Like there are some creationists I can handle talking to because they're willing to listen and they accept that they could be wrong.
Yeah.
But he is not one of those. The presuppositionalists are the ones that I have told myself I just have to stay away from. So what do you think is the most important part about telling people what is right, or sorry, not what is right, but what is wrong? What is the most important part of exposing it? Is it for a societal benefit? Is it for their own personal health, or is it all the above and everything else?
Well, it's a societal benefit, and it's about having integrity. I mean, if you believe in something that's wrong, is that really what you want to do? Do you want to really believe and follow something that's harmful? So if people point out that it's harmful and you can't counter with what they're saying, and they bring up things that's in the text that you're saying that you subscribe to, and you say that's not in there, but then you take a look and it is in there, and it's nothing you can counter, then what are you going to do? Are you going to keep following it, or are you going to come to the realization that, yeah, they're right, they're coming up with these arguments I can't counter, and this isn't what I thought it was going to be? And really, atheists a lot of times were blamed, saying, well, if somebody's religious and they believe in this thing and it makes them happy, why ruin it for them? But when you care about somebody, you don't want them to be scammed. If somebody thinks that somebody in Africa who calls himself a prince or whatever is going to give them $1 million if they just share their bank account information, they may be happy, but if somebody cares about them, they need to step in and say, you know what, you're not getting $1 million. This is a scam. And for me, it's not just that things in this religious text are barbaric. They're downright evil, but that we have something better. We have secular philosophy. We have words from ancient philosophers, timeless wisdom, and we have something that's much better than what's in primitive religious texts. So it's not only, yeah, your stuff's bad, but it's, look, we have something that's a lot better that doesn't include like what Moses did when he ordered the intentional targeting and butchering of children. It doesn't have all these horrible things. It doesn't have these ridiculous things that aren't true, because he had primitive people making guesses on how the universe worked and saying, oh, God is telling me these things, saying that the sun was made on the fourth day and all these, other absurdities that are in the Bible. We have something that's better. We have secular philosophy. We have modern science. And we're offering an upgrade here. And we're doing it because we want people to do better. And then we want society to do better.
Right, and the way I see it is that when it comes to religion, specifically Christianity, they claim that they are doing what is good, and some theists do what is good, what is morally good.
Right.
But are they doing it for the morally correct reasons? Because for me, the way I look at it is, if you're not evaluating your rationality, if you're not evaluating a moral claim and just doing what you're told, whether or not it's right or wrong. So if it's right, good for you, but if you're not evaluating it to say that it's right, then you are not acting as a moral agent. It doesn't make you immoral, it just makes you not moral. And the thing about secular morality is that we are forced to actually take responsibility, that we acknowledge that we live on this planet with 7 billion other people, and we are responsible for all of them.
Yeah. Well, secularism is no special privilege and no persecution based on religious belief. So it is equality. You're an atheist, you're a Hindu, you're a Christian, whatever. The law applies the same no matter what. And that obviously is a good thing. It's a brilliant thing. And it's under attack in this country by people who want to turn this into a Christian theocracy and want the law to apply differently between Christians, atheists, and other religions. But yeah, secularism is good. It took a long time for mankind, human reasoning, to achieve secularism, and we have people trying to tear it down, and we can't let that happen.
Yeah, I agree. There was something I wanted to ask you, because I don't recall, at least. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But how did you transition into atheism? Were you raised religious?
I was not, and so my story is a little bit different, because typically when you talk to an atheist in the United States, your typical story is, I was a Christian and then something happened. My favorite stories on that type are the ones that involve a jerk, right? I was a Christian. There was this guy who was a real jerk. Nothing happened to him. I figured if there was a God, he would have kicked his ass. So no ass kicking, no God. But these stories vary. For me, my parents called themselves Christian, but we didn't go to church. We didn't pray. So they were what I'd consider to be paper Christians. I mean, aside from the label, there really wasn't anything there. So I wasn't religious. I didn't connect with religion. I didn't care. For me, growing up, television was very important. Video games, board games, Dungeons and Dragons, Starfleet battles, all this stuff that's way before your time. And bike riding, those were important. Religion, not at all. Later in life, I developed this deep hunger for deeper meaning. And so I said, okay, I'll give Christianity a shot. I was surrounded by people who called themselves Christian and said it was this wonderful thing. But then I did something that would forever make being a Christian impossible. I read the Bible. And whereas people told me this was a good book, that was not the perception I had at all. I mean, it just immediately became painfully obvious, hit me like a ton of bricks. There's no more God in this book than a Spider-Man comic or anything. This isn't God. These are men claiming to speak for God, and they're so primitive. And a lot of people, at least, they say, well, I don't believe in the Bible, but I give it respect as a work of literature. I don't know why it even gets that.
Yeah, I think the one thing actually him and Meta went over this in one of his videos. He demonstrated how it's a poorly written book. It's not well organized.
It's a mess.
Yeah, exactly. I think the one thing that I think kind of makes it nifty is the amount of foreshadowing in it. Like in the Old Testament, when Abraham takes his son up to the mountain and offers him to God, and then God's like, "Oh no, I was just kidding about that," and instead he sacrifices a lamb, and that happens multiple times in the Bible where you'd be saved by the lamb, and then Jesus was the Lamb of God, and you were saved by Jesus, all that stuff. So I think that there's a lot of foreshadowing in the Bible, specifically to a lamb. I don't know what the Bible's obsession is with lamb, but, whatever. It feels pretty good.
Yeah, the Bible's obsessed, I guess, with lambs. Definitely obsessed with foreskins.
That too. Not as good as lamb, though.
Carolyn Hippolyte, who was on Mythicist Milwaukee, and then she had a book that I read. She pointed out a story in the Bible that wasn't familiar to me, where it was similar to Abraham, except it was a girl.
Oh, is this just let me take a shot in the dark here. Is it the story of Jephthah?
I believe that's it, where he's not winning battles, and so he makes a deal with God to sacrifice his daughter to win these battles. Well, guess what? She's dead. She was sacrificed. There was no God interfering at the last second to spare her life.
Yeah. They went through with the sacrifice. Therefore, God endorses human sacrifice.
Right. So, I mean, obviously inconsistent and just more the male chauvinist type of book that it is. But then when you talk about Abraham, you look at the deal God made Abraham to have all this land and slaves and everything. It's absolutely insane. God basically says, well, I'll give you all this land. I'll make your sons kings. All these people will be yours. And of course, the land he's promising is currently occupied by other people, but never mind all that. In return, just grab a piece of flint and fork over a piece of your foreskin. That is the story. And of course, they won't get into that in the Bible television series or any of the movies. For some reason, there's some scenes that never make it.
The Bible, the director's cut.
Yeah, but think about how absolutely insane that is, and that you're supposed to believe that. Oh, and by the way, because of that, his sons were to be circumcised. Everybody was to be circumcised, including his slaves. So his slaves are being circumcised to serve as an offering to a God that's making them his slave. Oh, well, that's just wonderful.
That is just dandy. I have never heard a more touching or warming story than that.
But of course, the Bible is absolutely full of these insanities, and I have no idea how anyone can read the Bible and still be a Christian. But then we find out, oh, well, a lot of these Christians, they don't actually read the Bible. And I don't understand that, because if you're basically saying that this religion is the most important thing in your life, shouldn't you be reading the book?
Yeah.
Would that be important?
It's really sad that so many people in the atheist community know so much more about their holy book than they do.
Yeah, it's upside down. I mean, it's just completely backwards, and that's just one of the backwards things going on in the world.
Agreed. Uh, another question I did want to ask you, because I didn't get a chance to stop at your table at the conference. Uh, are have you written any books, or are you writing any books currently?
I haven't written any books recently. My last book was probably around 5 years ago, and I wrote a couple. They were focused on secular philosophy. It was an agnostic perspective, so it wasn't anti-religious. It would just tackle different issues from like religious and non-religious perspectives, such as death. Okay, you have the spirit world, you have resurrection, you have reincarnation, you have heaven and hell, or you have the end of existence, and just kind of saying, okay, here are the different beliefs, and kind of breaking those down, getting into near-death experience. So it was basically that kind of a book, and a lot focused on secular philosophy and bringing the best out of all sources as far as living ethically and that kind of guidance. Since then, my blogs, so the books were not anti-religious or antagonistic towards religion, but the blogs I write have been more challenging and confrontational.
Yeah, and speaking of your blogs, give me and the YouTube world some great examples of what did you feel were your most powerful blogs, and what were your responses?
Okay. Well, my blog's on chicagonow.com, and it's under, ironically enough, religion, and it's an atheist in Illinois. The most popular blogs have been where there's controversy. But I had a popular back and forth with Glenn Beck.
Ooh, that's fun. I'll have to look that up.
Right. Well, he created this video, and I went over this a bit in the presentation, where guiding parents to kind of push their children into saying that their rights come from God, and this was arguing with that position. So I wrote this article called "Dear Glenn Beck, Our Rights Don't Come from God," and he got wind of it and did this whole segment on air countering it. And so I wrote an article countering that and some of the ridiculous things he said, such as horrifying Moses, even though Moses slaughtered his own people and enslaved and murdered others, including the targeting of children. And some funny things as well. In this clip to me, Glenn Beck says, "I tried atheism, but I wasn't able to get my arms around it." Okay, so you were able to get your arms around Mormonism?
Seriously, like, what crazy
Wow.
claim are you going to believe today?
You know, all these people claiming to speak for God, simply being men claiming to speak for God. Well, I just can't get my arms around that one. But Joseph Smith and his plates and all the insanity and crap in Mormonism, which just adds another layer of insanity to Christianity, that somehow he was able to get his arms around.
Yeah, and you mentioned, all these people claiming to speak for God, and it really reminds me of. So I'm just going to take a brief detour, and I'm going to tell you about this book that I am currently writing, because
Okay.
I was selling one at the conference, but that was kind of like
Yeah.
a throwaway book, a practice book, if you will. So this one, it's called An Alien Named Jesus, and it relates the macabre and the reason why we're so morbidly curious, and I describe how it might be the same reason that people believe in God, and that might be the same reason why we believe in aliens. And then the last chapter, I go over how God is an alien, pretty much. But I use the prefix, not the prefix. Wow, I'm dumb. The acronym SCREAM. We like disturbing things because we like to scream. It gives us strength, catharsis, reality, exploration, acceptance, and meaning. We often find uncertainty to be more unpleasant than unpleasant certainty. And you mentioned that they claim to speak for God. That could give you all those things. Like if you think you speak for God, that can make you feel so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want to be on that high of a pedestal?
Well, sure, and power has gone hand to hand. A lot of people who took power claim to speak for God.
Exactly.
There was an ancient Egypt who claimed that the Sphinx spoke to him and said, "Okay, if you, uncover this sand that surrounded me, then I'll make you Pharaoh." And so he does that and makes his claim. So absolutely, power in claiming to speak for God. I mean, we even see it today. You look at these candidates running for president on the Republican ticket, claiming that God is telling them to run.
Yeah, it's
It's
who are you gonna believe?
Yeah, it's the same thing, and yeah, it's definitely a narcissist type of thing. When these athletes thank God when they hit a home run or score a touchdown or whatever. I'm so powerful and I'm so important that the all-powerful creator of the universe is granting me special privileges because that's how special I am.
Yeah.
Now, ironically, they never blame God when they don't hit the home run or don't score a touchdown or lose. Then it's, well, we picked the wrong play, or we didn't try, we didn't practice hard enough, or we just weren't in the game. Then it's like every excuse but that. So it only applies if you win, but if you lose, then God gets a complete pass.
Yeah, it's and if they do attribute that to God, like their losses, if they do for some reason say, they would just say, it's God's will, or it's, he works in mysterious ways. There's some other bullshit cop out.
Right, but I mean, I've never heard that.
Yeah, it doesn't come up often.
Yeah, and it should be balanced. I would like to see baseball players when they strike out, go, just balance it out.
That'd be awesome to see. I would definitely start watching baseball.
Yeah. What the heck? You gave that guy on the other side a home run? Why didn't you give me one? Screw you.
Say what? I didn't pray hard enough.
Yeah.
There was this. I think I may have actually shown you this at the conference. It was this, or at the after party. There was this. There was this picture. It was from The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy asks Scarecrow, "How can you speak without a brain?"
Yeah.
And Scarecrow says, "I'm a Christian conservative."
That joke's been around there for a while.
Has it?
It's an old movie, so yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that just got me. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do have another podcast coming up soon, but
Okay.
Is there anything you would like to say to wrap up? Anything you'd like to promote?
Nothing at this time. I'm just waiting for the video footage to become available from the mythinformation conference, and I imagine taking bits and pieces of that into shorter segments when I specifically go after Ken Ham, or specifically counter the claim that Moses is the moral lawgiver, and different things. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. And then once those videos are available, put things like that together. And that's all I got right now.
All right. Are you? I know you have a YouTube channel, but how active are you on it?
Looking to get more active than I have been. Currently, I just have 9 videos out there. I put a lot of videos out there over the years, but then I look back and it's like, I don't know, something's kind of embarrassing, or I feel embarrassed about, or whatever, so I get rid of them. But I'm going to try to put them out there and keep them out there. But there's 9 videos right now, and I'm hoping to grow that. But I think the ones that are out there, people will enjoy.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Well, James, thank you so much for joining me today. It was
All
a
right, Lars,
pleasure.
thanks for having me.
Yep. Go subscribe to him on YouTube, James Kirk Wall. I'll put a link in the description below. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, awesome.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.